Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Reviews with Jake, where I just got done watching Shirley. Shirley's the story about a young couple who moves in with the famous horror author Shirley Jackson. Tensions get high, betrayals occur, darkness ensues, the perfect recipe for writing the next horror classic. For once, I can actually say that I'm familiar with some source material in print form, because I've read some Shirley Jackson. After watching The Haunted of Hill House, I loved it so much that I actually picked up the book. And I got about halfway through until my ADD kicked in and said, hey, we don't read books. But while my direct experience with her work is incredibly limited, there's no denying the influence that she's had on the horror genre. As a horror fan, I respect my roots. It's a common courtesy. And if you want to make a movie with her in it being portrayed by Elizabeth Moss, sign me up. And the pros start there where they absolutely should be, because Elizabeth Moss once again crushes it. She is seriously such an underrated actress, and that's coming from someone who has never seen Handmaid's Tale, where allegedly she shines the brightest. It's weird to think the first time I saw her was Get Him to the Greek. Random. Nevertheless, she once again chews up every minute of screen time she is given and just graciously spits it in our faces. I mean, she just kills it here. She does such a good job portraying this crazy woman. My God. It's often a misconception that people that come up with these crazy horror concepts that are just so messed up beyond belief, they have to be coming from someone that's messed up in the head, right? Often not the case, but in this case, they're onto something. If this movie is even slightly accurate in its portrayal of Shirley Jackson, yikes. She does make for a very interesting character though, and there are plenty other ones to go alongside of her. The foundation of this movie is built around its very compelling characters and their relationships with each other and sort of their very compelling conversations amongst one another. Passive aggressiveness, power struggles, I mean, this movie is a prime example that your concept does not have to be super far out there and crazy and intricate. I mean, it can be simple as long as you have characters that are interesting. There's really not much to this overarching plot when you really boil it all down, but it's interesting. I was hooked because interesting people make things interesting. I also really like the cinematography used in this film. I thought that it added a nice realistic grit to it. This isn't a very polished film. I mean, you're not gonna see intense colors, vibrant saturation and contrast. I mean, everything in it just feels very down and dirty, and that's the charm to it. This movie feels like it was made in the dirt, and I mean that as a compliment, because it wouldn't make sense to have a movie that's dealing with someone that's not right in the head if the movie looked perfect and pristine. I mean, it feels like it fits here. There's a lot of handheld shots, some poor lighting, and I feel like it was all intentional because it actually feels like it works. Just the style that they chose to approach this movie feels like it complements its story so well. It feels authentic. However, I will say that there were a few times where it got a little disorienting. You have to be careful with handheld shots because in large doses it can be very rough on your audience and have a very adverse effect on their experience while watching it. Like, I rewatched Quarantine the other day, regretfully, and that movie had that issue, as is the case with a lot of found footage films. So while I do think that this style of filmmaking was appropriate for this particular story about a woman who's losing her grip on sanity, I do think that that comes with a cost of kind of negative side effects for your audience, which I'd say in general is a thing to avoid. I also found that I wasn't the biggest fan of a lot of soundtrack choices that they made for the film. Like, I enjoyed the music in itself, it was fine, but I just thought it wasn't very situational. Like, a lot of the times the music vibes didn't really fit with what I was seeing on screen, found it very conflicting. Finally, I thought the film had some pacing issues. I thought the plot was a little meandering and uneventful. While I did enjoy the characters throughout this movie, for the first hour I was like, where are we going with this? What's the point? It eventually came around, assembled all the pieces, and it all worked out in the end, but I felt like most of the runtime, it felt like it was just kind of lingering aimlessly. I feel like it could have found that sense of direction a little quicker and more efficiently. All in all, the movie's decent enough. I mean, it's a very nice showcase of Elizabeth Moss's acting chops, but honestly, I don't think that's news to anyone at this point. I guess if you get in debate with someone who's doubting her acting ability, here's another notch in your belt to counter with, so that's something. Good for you. I'm going to give Shirley a B-. I would also like to take a minute to point out the fact that this is my 200th movie review. This is factoring in all the written reviews that I did on my personal Instagram account, all the written reviews that I did on my Reviews with Jake Instagram account, and all the video reviews that I've just started doing this year. It's been a wild ride. I've loved every second of it. I mean, it's a lot of work, especially these video reviews, but I gotta say, it is well worth it. I started doing them in 2016 just as a fun little challenge for myself to not only watch movies, but to analyze them, study them, assess them. Never thought I'd still be doing it 4 4 years later, especially to the extent that I'm doing them today. And I have no plans on slowing down. That's largely based on the support that I get from you guys on YouTube as well as those that follow on Instagram. I appreciate you listening to me just spew out a bunch of nonsense. So with that, my thoughts on Shirley, that's just me. What do you guys think? Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with new reviews coming real soon. Stay safe and thanks for checking in.